guys, welcome back to the Little Miss Black Cloud blog, or vlog, yeah, vlog, that's what I meant to say, sorry. Lots of news this week, not necessarily good. Had quite a few big celebrities pass away on us within the past couple weeks. We had Lemmy from Motorhead, which everybody knows this song. We had David Bowie, who, if you grew up in the 90s at all, then you definitely remember this.
You remind me of the Babe. Babe with the power. Power of voodoo. You do. Remind me of the Babe.
Even more close to home for me, personally, we lost Alan Rickman, who pretty much everybody knows him as Professor Severus Snape from the Harry Potter movies. I first saw him, I believe it was as a character called Colonel Brandon, which I doubt most of you have seen. It's from the movie Sense and Sensibility, adapted from the Jane Austen novel. And my friends and I have a joke about this particular movie where there's the typical very handsome man who sweeps the heroine off her feet, and there's all this romance going on, and then there's the other man who's in love with the female lead, who she doesn't really see him, but you know that he loves her so sincerely and all this other stuff. And Colonel Brandon is the character who's in love with the lead female, and she just kind of looks straight through him, doesn't even see him, thanks to Mr. Tall and Handsome Mr. Willoughby. And one of my favorite things about watching this with two of my friends from college is we knew the outcome of the movie already whenever we were watching it, and Mr. Willoughby starts acting like a total dick. And at one point, my friend stares straight at the screen, and she just goes, "Get off the screen, Willoughby! Bring back Colonel Brandon!" And it's just, it left us all laughing hysterically until we were falling out of our chairs. But yeah, unfortunately, we have lost all three of these wonderful people to cancer. Fuck you, cancer. Fuck you. We lost Brian Bedford, who, if you remember him from anything, you will remember him from Disney's version of Robin Hood, with all of the foxes and bears, and everybody was a member of the animal kingdom. That's a close to home hit for a lot of furries out there, since that movie growing up was really our first exposure to anthropomorphic animals, and thus started the obsession. Another very sudden and very sad moment was Wayne Static's wife, Tara. Yeah, we lost her to suicide today. Can't even imagine what she was feeling this last almost year and a half after Wayne died. So yeah, 2016 is kind of off to a shitty start, losing a lot of very great people. So here's hoping it gets better. My condolences, and my heart goes out to all the people who personally knew all those who have passed away. We've certainly lost a lot of great talent, and some people who gave a lot of hope. So, uh, sorry, I'm getting teary-eyed too. Going into something a little happier. No, not a little happier, a lot happier. Found out today, actually, oddly enough, through one of my coworkers, because all of my coworkers know that I'm a very open furry. Found out today that a local director who went to Point Park University, he's actually a friend of my friend, Dominic Rodriguez. He created a documentary. It initially spawned out of, this little clip that he made for his senior thesis. Uh, it's it went on to be this 80-minute documentary about furries, and it's become such a big deal that it is now premiering at the Slamdance Film Festival. It's premiering January 22nd, I believe, at the film festival. Um, but it actually delves into individual furries' lives. It's not just, a broad overview like what they do at, say, Anthrocon or Midwest Fur Fest or anything like that. This is actually them, Dominic and some of his friends, traveling around the country and actually getting one-on-one conversations with these people as to, why did they get into the furry fandom? What does the furry fandom offer them? And so here's hoping that goes well for him. Hoping that it dispels some of the negative image that furries have managed to accumulate over the years. Definitely, most of it's not true, but what can you do whenever social media likes to twist everything? And now into pretty much what I was planning to do the whole time before the sky opened up and started to shit on all of us by making people die. Book review time. Book review of Edward Lee's Brides of the Impaler. Basically the entire story revolves around a woman who, she is an artist. She makes high-end collectible dolls along the same lines as Living Dead dolls, or I heard they named another one in the book, but I couldn't actually find anything on them. They're called Girl Goyles? GURL-GOYLES. I tried looking them up, I couldn't find anything. But yeah, she comes up with all these really twisted yet cute ideas for these things, and she comes up with these things, and they sell like wildfire, or they sell like crazy. People can't get enough of them. Well, she's engaged to this real high class real estate lawyer. They moved to New York. She's not entirely comfortable there, and he apparently has bought a house that once belonged to the diocese, and there's this whole big mess with him about, oh, he wasn't supposed to be able to buy this house and this, that, and the other, but no one wants to tell him why, because the place has been sitting empty for decades. So they move into this place, and from what the author was saying, the main character, I don't even really remember her name. I think it was Christina? Yeah, Christina. When Christina first moves into the house with her fiance, just according to what the author said, because you don't get a whole lot of good examples about what she was like before she moved, her personality does this total 180. She becomes a sex fiend, she gets more outgoing, she does all this stuff, and it's just like, well, I'd have nothing to compare her behavior to, but it turns out that there's something of Dracula's buried in the house, and it keeps focusing on these homeless women who have been recruited, I guess, recruited by the spirit of Vlad Tepes's concubine. I don't know. I've never even heard any history or rumor about her, but I haven't delved into it too deeply. But I've still never heard of her. And apparently the spirit recruits these women to go and make sacrifices, essentially, to try and bring about Dracula's reincarnation. And Christina becomes the main object of all their plots because they want her to consume Dracula's blood. And she will actually become Dracula. His essence will take up residence in her body, essentially. I read it quickly, mostly just because I wanted to get it over with. Really, there's not much detail. There's not a whole lot of detail in there to go off of, except for the sex scenes, which there are plenty of. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind sex scenes at all. I'm nowhere near a prude. But the frequency and the repetition of language with it is just, it gets mind-numbing after a while. And let's face it, there's only so many ways that you can describe a clitoris and a nipple. But, I mean, it's an enjoyable enough read. Just don't expect a whole lot out of it. There was all these people chalking up, oh, it's this great horror film, or this great horror book, sorry. Great horror book, and, you know, it's all this creepy stuff and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, this is about the most generic horror book I could ever have picked up. I think if they had classed it as anything other than horror, it might have been better. But apparently Edward Lee, he's not new to the horror genre. He's written quite a few books in the horror genre, and apparently a lot of them have been very good. It's just that this one fell kind of flat. There was the very interesting thing though is and this kind of played up to my twisted sense of humor. The spirit of Vlad Tepes's concubine comes to Christina in visions as a vampiric nun who literally is completely naked except for her little wimple that hangs down. And I actually went and drew it. Like, she actually turns her vision of this concubine in a nun's wimple into a doll, into one of her collectibles. And for whatever weird reason, it was so firmly fixed in my mind, I actually drew it. And I'm actually kind of happy with how it turned out. It's got this cute little face and these little fangs. Like I said, entertaining enough. Next week, I might delve into something fun that I asked my friends about. It's how there's always horror characters, whether in anime, whether in actual horror movies, or even in books. And there are these characters who they're the villain or something, or they're just flat out creepy, and they have no business whatsoever being a heartthrob. And yet, they have all these women, and even men, chasing after them, saying, I want your little hellspawn babies! I might delve into that, have some fun. Yeah, that's all I got for you. I bid you adieu.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its scenes while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walked alone. Narrow streets of cobblestone. Neath the halo of a street lamp, I turned my collar to the cold and damp.